I think we both talk pretty loud. Can you hear us all right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
If you need it.
All right, thank you so much.
I usually wait till I see somebody do this. Then I know it's not loud enough.
So, actually, in this immediate area, there wasn't any gold found that we know about. There was mostly tin and other metals and things like that. But not too far from here, starting in probably around, well, actually in Anza and then Menifee area and so forth, and then further east is where gold is found mostly, and claims. Our club has 5 claims that we own. One of them is up in Barstow area, in a Coolgardie, that is an old famous gold mining area. We go on outings every month. Not there, but we go on an outing every month. And then we own a claim in Quartzsite, Arizona, and that's where they just had the big, this past weekend, the big Rock and Gem show. And then we also have one in Gold Mountain, which is up in Big Bear. And in fact, Robert, that was his claim, and he donated it to our club to use.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he's worked it for how many years?
Since '91.
Wow. He's got some nice nuggets from there, too. Then we also own 2 that are on the river, or tributaries of the Feather River up in Northern California that we go to periodically. It's a little far, but we're going to explain to you the different methods of retrieving gold. And then I first learned gold mining up in Oregon, and it was in the river. So that was my first experience with gold. My boyfriend taught me everything. And then he had a dredge. And then when I moved back down here where I'm from, I had to take care of my dad for 10 years here in Temecula, and I learned of the Temecula Valley Prospectors. And I didn't know anything about desert mining until I joined them, and now I know all about it. And I've gotten some good success. So then there's also metal detecting, which you can do both at the river, in the water, or in the desert to find nuggets. You find all kinds of other interesting things too. So we have, at our club, we have a finds table that people bring whatever they found that month before, whether it was metal detecting or gold mining or even rocks and gemstones they find, to show for us and tell us about them and where they found them and so forth. And we give them a prize. And then we also have a raffle table where you can win gold. And we also have gold dirt bags that we sell, different sizes. And you can buy the gold dirt bags and take them home and practice panning and get gold without even having to go anywhere. And some folks are getting kind of old, so that's what they like to do. They just want to get some, gold dirt and pan it, each month. You can win it. And we have a big fundraiser raffle going on right now where you could win a 1 ounce double gold eagle coin, and that's the grand prize. And it's already gone up in value since we got it. That's the grand prize, but we got 10 chances at other gold. Nuggets, dirt bags, everything. So we meet once a month, the very first Saturday of each month, in the morning at 9. And we usually have a speaker, and we organize an outing for that month somewhere, either to one of our claims, or Bob's going to explain some other claims that we have access to. And so we'll talk about our methods. And I'm going to let Robert tell you about some things.
All right. Thank you. Just to let you know, when I first came out here, I don't know if you can pick up my accent at all. I tell people that are really young I was born in Temecula because Nobody knows anybody that was born in Temecula at our age. Anyway, I came from a state where the only gold you could find was either in pawn shops or jewelry stores. Just a clue. Eastern states, there's very little gold mining. A lot of others, but not that. So when I came out here, I literally came out in the end of '89 and came right to Temecula because I had a friend and his children and my children went to school together in the same lake community that we lived in. And went to the library, first stop, looked at periodicals, and the periodicals that I had picked up, which I had never heard of before, and I don't know if any of you have, but I'm just showing you this. There's several of last year's magazines that they publish, and as you can see, in big words, gold price. I mean, and I was all in. There's a fever associated with people like myself. It's not contagious. You never get over it. And you don't care if anybody else ever catches it, because you don't want them digging in the hole you're digging in, if it's a gold-producing hole. But it just so happens this business was founded right here in Temecula.
In Temecula.
And a lot of people, I mean, they advertise because they publish the magazine. Not only do they publish the magazine, but if you join their organization, they put out a mining guide. Now, it lists by states. There's like 40 in California that they have. If you join them annually, you can go dig in any one of these sites from North Carolina to Alaska. It's in here. So you could say, I get a card. I'm a card-carrying prospector. I can mine wherever these are. Well, that being said, that was my first venture. I came out here, and I met a guy, and he goes, oh, well, I prospect. I go, oh, I want to do that. How do you do it? He goes, well, first you have to find out what it is you want to do. I said, I just want to get gold. He goes, no, it's not that easy. He goes, you want to buy a big, expensive dredge that floats in the water on pontoons, and you suck the ground out? I go, oh, I don't know anything about. He goes, you can do a sluice box. You stick this thing in the river, you dump dirt in this end, it gets trapped in the particle pieces in here, and the water and the dirt gets carried away.
Water washes it through.
So he said, I'll take you to this one guy that sells everything. All the equipment you could possibly imagine and all the books you could possibly read. So I went up to him. I said, okay, I want to go prospect for gold. He goes, what way? I go, oh, I'm at this same, I don't know. He goes, I'll tell you what, here's a book, buy this book from me, read it. It's every way that you could possibly prospect. Dig a hole in the ground, go in a river, creek, go out in the desert, metal detect. And he goes, it's all in here. You just have to decide how you want to do it. So I went, okay. Well, I resolved myself to doing this. This is a rather good metal detector from a company called Fisher that made the original metal detecting equipment for our World War I and then World War II military to find mines in the ground so nobody stepped on them or equipment didn't go over them. Well, then they started making recreational prospecting, and it wasn't that big a deal because nobody knew about it, and they slowly advertised. This is good for with a headset or audible on its own. I'm not going to turn it on, but you can hear metal in the ground. It doesn't mean it's gold, like up in Big Bear, Gold Mountain. I probably have picked up 40 or 50 live rounds of ammunition. And it's people that go hunting, which you can't stop. And if it's snow on the ground and they drop a bullet in the snow, they're not going to pick it up to use. I wouldn't. And I would find that. I'd find various pieces of metal. Tin cans from old miners that were up there. And I mean old, I'm talking about the 1880s. It was mined. There's 30 elements up on this Gold Mountain claim. The worst is selenium-143, if anybody knows about radioactive material. all the way down to silver and gold. Well, that's how this started for me with the claim. My mining partner, then a friend, we each went up with the metal detector, and we're walking around in the woods, minding our own business, just metal detecting and digging, and we hit a spot. And the spot, we were like, gee, is this garbage, trash? Well, it was below the dirt where you'd find trash. And we went a little deeper. And I go, oh, this must be gold. It's really deep. Well, it turned out it was. So he and I both found this in this one little spot on this mountain, 7,400 foot peak, and all of a sudden he's doing this. I go, Dwayne, what are you doing? He goes, think anybody saw us? I go, you got to be joking me, right? Maybe an eagle or a crow flying by, but there's nobody up here. It's just us. He goes, hey, you think maybe we could claim this? I go, I don't even know where I am. You ever walk the mountains up there? You don't know where you are. Well, it was supposed to be on claim. So he goes, well, how about when you get back to work in Riverside, there's a Bureau of Land Management office there, and I'll go to San Bernardino County and ask what we got to do to make a claim. And I went into BLM, and I said, gee, you know, I'm interested in a claim that's up in the Big Bear, north of Big Bear, and the guy goes, not good enough. Where? I go, he goes, here. He opened the drawer, and he pulled out these big maps then, no Google, and he goes, you want to buy this map? It's $25. He goes, and you figure out where you were, and you mark it on here. Come back into me, and I'll tell you if you can claim it. But it'll cost you $50 to find out. And if it is claimed, we keep the 50. If it's not, it goes to the claim. And I went, okay. That's how it started. I started doing that. Now, that being said, I found out that you don't just finish there. You get a lot of dirt, and these are the modern day version plastic, weighs a couple ounces, of the ancient metal ones.
These were the metal ones, and they're heavy.
And
so if you put dirt and water in here and everything, it'll wear you out.
And that's a small one.
Yeah.
The ones that were bigger,
they had big.
And they had none of these things are considered your gold catchers. They're the riffles. Even the smallest ones in today's industry, they make these. So you get to dump dirt in this, whether it's dry and you stick water in it. You dump that after you get rid of the. Everybody knows what leverite is? It's all over the place. It's what you pick up in dirt and you don't want it. It's called leverite. Leverite where you found it. See, that happened to me. I was novice too. Guy goes, well, that looks like leverite. I go, is it worth anything? He goes, depends. You want to plant vegetables in it? Maybe. Anyway, so these pans, they delineate the gold and you separate it. Then from there, it becomes a little bit more problematic. You either need a thing called a snuffer bottle. Looks like a woman's turkey baster, only smaller. You squeeze it, and then you let it go, and it sucks up the water and the gold. Or tweezers. I'm known to sit outside in the sun for hours with a pan about this far from my chin with the glass vial in the center and tweezering in the gold. The original most gold found was considered dust, powder. Then it got to a little bit bigger. They were maybe less than your pinky nail. They were pickers. And then if you were really good, you got nuggets. And only a few times in the history of California have there ever been, and this is no joke, boulders. Now, these boulders are about this big around, and they weigh 90 pounds. And they were, for the most part, solid gold. They might not have been 22 karat as everybody has in their jewelry, but they were significant enough that they got sold to assayers for then about $12 an ounce. And it got melted down, the Treasury got it, and they made coins out of it. Today, I didn't look at the close today. I keep it in my phone all the time. I think we're almost at $1,900 an ounce. So it becomes more significant even if you're going to a picked over mining area where the old guys had inefficient equipment. They were lucky they'd have to work during the daylight hours. We have little lights we could put on our head and still prospect. But up on this claim, only after I had it for about a year and a half, it's 40 acres. I don't know how many of you have walked every step of a 40-acre mountain, but there's still parts of it I've not walked on. And that's because I'm like, I found gold here. I'm not going to go. Anyway, there's an 800-foot, people would call it a tunnel. It's actually called an adit. 8 feet wide, 8 feet high, and it goes back 800 feet. The reason I know that is I took a 200-foot rope in, and then when it got to the end of it, I flipped it over and kept going. I think it was well, in the days of people that were unscrupulous, they'd make a claim to back east and say, we found gold. And they'd show them some gold. And they said, we need investors to help us dig it out. So we need your money. You don't have to come out, and we'll dig it out, and we'll pay you for it. Well, here are these big tunnels that were made. Nothing in them. It's just like when I go on the claim and I'm digging a hole and I'm taking out the dirt and I might not have finished, I'll come back the next day. Well, somebody else goes there. And they go, they must have found gold here. They dug this out and they dig it bigger. And before you know it, there's a huge hole in the ground. And you ask anybody, hey, did you find any? And they go, no, I didn't find anything. Did you? And I said, no. But the hole keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, that's what happens in these mining areas. A lot of people use that technique. And the technique for dirt, and I'll describe this. Everybody knows what's up at Big Bear right now, right? Anybody ski? I don't go there when it's white. There's no point. First you got to get rid of the snow, then you got to get rid of the wet dirt, and then it's frozen and you can't do anything with it. I tried. I'd go down to the Fawn Skiing General Store, hook up a garden hose to the lady's spigot on the side of the general store, and run what was then a dry washer, but I hooked water to it. And I said, I'm done. I can't do this. I hate snow. That's why I moved away from the East Coast. Anyway, this device is a more modern day dry washer. And those are the exact words. If you put damp dirt in this, it needs to be dry. So in the desert or the mountains, when it's summery, after May, it dries up, you put dirt in the top of this container. It filters it down to a little port here, which you can modify depending on the hardness of the dirt or the size of the dirt. It falls into this tray. Now, that's not good enough. What they do is they take a leaf blower, they throw away the big nozzle part, they put and I have several of them mounted on wooden boards because they vibrate down the mountain as you're working, so on a board they stay where they are. And there's a hole in the back and the bottom. You stick a tube in it from the leaf blower, you start the leaf blower up, and it sounds like a helicopter coming in, and the air blows into the bottom of that. It blows all the dust and the dirt particles out, for the most part, and leaves nothing but...
And it shakes it like this.
And and because it's on this spring, the blower is constantly moving this.
So this dirt's falling and going down this way like that.
And this is an ancient one. This is...
A puffer.
This one has a bellows.
That's how they originally made them
So they would
back
make
in the
this,
1800s here.
and the air would blow through the same type of opening. And then when
And this is the hopper.
And when the person got done, they'd take out this wooden tray and stick it in back to the pan. This is the same thing as that disassembles.
Yes, this comes off, and we take it out, and we empty it into a pan, and then you use water, and you pan it. That's what's called concentrates. You always want to take it down to the concentrates. You want to get all the overburden off, because gold is heavy. So it's going and also we call it black sand, but it's really iron, is what's usually left at the end. And then you can really see the gold because that black makes it sort of stand out. But you want to get it all the way down to that.
That's why I use this last. Not that I'm really colorblind, but any other color, I need to see the gold. And black to me is the significant difference. The green doesn't even work that well, except if it's really big pieces. So, this is a desert and dry earth device. This is an antique one. This is strictly used in the river. And the one thing that I have, but I didn't want to bring it, it's called a dredge. It's on pontoons. It takes a motor. You go underground, under the water, and you suck up all the stone and rock. It goes through the machine, and
Just
basically,
like, and it goes through a sluice box like
so it's
this on the
basically
top.
basically like this, and tosses it out
But you
with
can
the water.
you can retrieve a whole lot more dirt faster by sucking it all up.
But this, in the inimitable style of not only California but Idaho, Washington, they nixed you getting in the water because you're polluting the water.
But actually, we're cleaning up the water.
But I got to tell you, we would take buckets of mercury. We would take fishing weights, lead, a lot of things out of the river that didn't belong in there to begin with, and we'd take to like shows a bucket of trash, and you go, where'd the trash come from? Came out of the river that we're not supposed to be in because it's sacred to the fish. And we really were helping fish. They're just now the only stable business that rivers are used to work with is the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Sometimes they're great, and sometimes they cause disasters, like the Oroville Dam disaster recently. But they go in with dredgers, sand, flat units. They suck the sand right out of the bottom for navigation on certain rivers like the Salmon and the Columbia. And then they dump that sand on dry land. Well, technically they're doing the exact same thing a little guy like myself is doing with this little dredge and a suction device. But it's slowly coming back. It's been re-regulated, and California is getting back rights and permission to do so. That's the biggest type of prospecting. And there's shows on TV. I don't know if any of you ever watch Discovery, but there's Gold Rush, and then there's Bering Sea Gold. I've met all of them. Been up there prospecting. Some of it's contrived for TV purposes, and other things are created. It's like Housewives of the Potomac, Housewives of Vegas. Who cares? You know? But the point is that they're trying to get you interested in the show. The other two shows are that have been of note is Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch, both in Utah. And the Blind Frog is going after Aztec gold that was buried up there, and the other one has to do with minerals and ETs. But getting back to this now, I have a few magazines. If anybody's interested, they're more than welcome to them. They're last year's. I'll give them to you.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
My
take
wife
one home.
wants to know where I keep these magazines, and I hide them as best I can. But she finds them. And she says, I'm throwing these out. I go, no, never throw those away. But the magazines are yours to look at. I'll be glad to answer questions. And also in the magazine is the exact location, phone number, and names of all the individuals that are running the GPAA.
It's called GPAA, which stands for
Gold
Yeah, go ahead.
Gold Prospectors of America Association. And it's
We're
not,
a chapter.
And we belong to them in so much that we created a club. They refer to us as chapters. And this particular chapter was started about 1991. The first people were out of Hemet. They came down to our location down here. They worked at one of the banks for a short while. They got a room to have a meeting. Then when I joined them in the early 90s, they were down at the Boys and Girls Club on Peugeot, and then that got modernized, rebuilt, whatever, and we had to move. We were at the Ronald Reagan Sports Park in that big auditorium building, and then after that, they couldn't promise dates for having meetings. We went over to the Assistants League, which used to be, if anybody really been here a long time? Pinky's Bowl. Yeah, I often ask them, how did you ever take care of the floor? You know, in there, and where are all the alley lanes? And they were gone. But anyway, so the only thing that really crippled our club and almost any other activity has been the significance of COVID-19. All public facilities were closed. Nobody wanted anybody.
Couldn't have meetings.
Could you know, more than 2 people gather, you better have your shop card with you, and so it all ended for the beginning of 2020, right through to almost this past year. Things are starting back again. We're glad because
we've got a great place now in Lake Elsinore, unfortunately, because we couldn't find a place here big enough for our club, but and for all kinds of other reasons, but. We're starting to get members again, and and we saved the club, and it's coming back.
So it's been a struggle, but Riverside County owns on Grand Avenue, near going up the Ortega, owns what was once a grammar school. They had built a few years back a major size on Grand Avenue school system, so that left that vacant. So it's used on and off with different activities. Code enforcement has one building, there's sports activities. So we're in there, and we're grateful that we can get in there. As we would typically have between 100 and 120 people meeting at our facility in the Assistants League building.
We're kind of outgrowing it.
And they said, oh, you know, we're maxed out now. We can't take that number of people. So we have to keep looking, keep our heads above water. And somebody asked before about responsibility and liability. Like any organization, even if it's a 501c3 like our club is, the financial obligations aren't limited to just renting a space. It's insurance and quality of facility. So we always look to keep that maintained. A facility like yours, open to the public, and have people come in and out is a responsibility. But we've met that since '92 when I joined the Temecula Prospectors, or '93. It's been a lot of fun working with either people older than me that had knowledge and taught you. And that's the same thing we're trying to do. We're trying to manifest a group of people coming in. And we have young adults with 6-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old that come in and they learn. They learn from us.
We even had a pizza and panning party
they
for the kids to show, and we gave them little gold dirt bags that we made up with some gemstones in it to find, so they could see it easily. And we have a big patio there, so we could make a mess, and it was all wet. And so, we showed them how to pan. And now they love it. They're just, they're starting to come with their parents, often. And that makes us so happy, because that's a whole nother generation that we've got going.
The other thing that we have done prior to COVID was I taught in Murrieta and Temecula, the elementary school. The 4th graders in the state of California get a education about the state, the 49ers, 1849, and becoming a state in 1850. And what we do is we go in and give them a program of what it was like life-wise at that point in time, what the people were subjected to, where they came from, why they were there, what did they find. And we also go over things as rudimentary as, anybody know how much an egg cost in 1849? A chicken egg? It's kind of funny. It's what goes around comes around. I think we're paying about the price now for the egg, but I don't want to. I say to my wife, you're not giving any of those eggs to the dog. Knock that off. At $7 a dozen, forget about it. He gets kibble. But the aspect of learning what California developed into really because of gold. I mean, okay, the Mexican and Spanish element came up into the lower part of the lower third of California, and they were doing the same thing. The conquistadors, the Spanish, were looking for gold. There's still today a number of places that actually have active searches going on in Arizona and New Mexico for all those old operations that the Spanish did. They were very sophisticated. They came in, got what they wanted, and boot scooted back to Spain with the wealth. But anyway, I don't know.
I wanted to let everybody know that I brought this specimen that it kind of shows how gold looks in hard rock, and it breaks off through time and weather and everything, and that's how it moves its way, since it's so heavy, you know, being one of the heaviest elements on the elemental table, 79. It eventually pounds and pounds and pounds, and it's soft. It's not real soft, but it's soft enough to where it starts out real lacy like this, but then it moves all the way to the lowest place, which is bedrock, and it moves its way into, with water and weather and everything over years and years, into the rivers. So this is what it looks like when it starts out, and I used my own gold to make the setting here. And then this one is a 1 ounce that looks a lot like an Indian arrowhead, just aesthetic value. But we found this one by using a winch on the front of our truck and lifting up a boulder about the size of, you know, this area here, to dredge underneath, you know, suck up everything. And this was the only thing that was under there. But it's very special to me. And I got matching earrings as well. And I wanted to let everybody know that this area, and you know, Paula especially, is known for pegmatite that starts in Brazil. And that same pegmatite comes up in Paula. And I used to dig through the tailing piles in the 80s, and I found this tourmaline and I faceted it. And this is my gold that I set it into, so you might want to take a look afterwards.
So pegmatite is
And I think Bob brought some of his gold too.
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if I could trust this girl. Sorry. Gotta be. Safe is better than stupid. The area up in Big Bear, they started to look for, and I often ask this question: what do you look for? What did these old timers look for? They certainly didn't have a book on. Yeah, that's it. It's over there. No maps. So pegmatite was the big thing up on this mountain, and it's the only single spot that I've found so far that this pegmatite is this big rock, and they decided to just go. Pegmatite looks like salt and pepper. Best way I can describe it. I have pegmatite rocks, and if any of you know where East Benton Road is, the Riverside County Road Department, if you turn off of, technically it's Borel, but I'll say Rancho Cal Road, and head down East Benton, on the right-hand side, there are a number of gigantic boulders. They left them behind because they couldn't use them. But they take out all of that base rock that's small, and it gets used in different locations. The street I live on, they dumped it into the dry stream creek to make a bed base out of it. It breaks up, it deteriorates. But it's also a fundamental thing to see that gold could be there. Gold really, in this particular area, is more quartz located. And quartz is nothing more than sand that got overheated and shot up through crevices and cracks. And that's what a lot of it is up there. However, as Laura was saying, over time, that stuff that was holding it breaks down, and the gold doesn't. It just stays there. And we have people, I started in back east getting slate with pyrite in it. big cubes of pyrite, and I thought I hit the bonanza. And one guy takes a hammer out and he goes, that's not gold. And he takes a hammer and he smashes it and it just shattered into smithereens. I'm like, he goes, that's fool's gold. That's pyrite. And I went, oh. He goes, but it does have a lot of value. People put it in little stone collections and they sell the pyrite. And I go, gee, thanks. I mean, you know how much slate I got to break up now to find something like that again? He goes, oh, I just wanted to teach you. That's not gold. I said, thanks. That was my first lesson in stupid. Anyway, this area, as Laura said, was not good for gold. But Gavilan Hills, there are a number of really dangerous shafts up there that gold was taken out of. Also, there's a single standing mountain south of Paris. I think it's actually Paris. It's south of the lake. And it's got a dugout, right? Somebody dug it out and they mined the inside of it. So it's like an upside down umbrella that somebody snuck under. And they took valuables out of that too. There's a railroad line that runs right next to it. I, in my early stupidity, would go into those places. And somebody said, well, you know, there's gas in there and there could be snakes in there, or God forbid, a bear or a cougar. And I found that out after the fact. I'd still go in. But I got smarter. So there's some young people that are in our club that, can I go in there? And I go, yes, go ahead. I'm right behind you. And tie this rope around your waist and I can pull you out if I don't hear from you. And they go, okay. Anyway, that was my mining experience to help youngsters. They weren't so young. They were in their 20s. I figured they had to be smart enough. But mountain is digging for gold. Desert is digging for gold and metal detecting for the most part. River is sluicing. And if you're lucky enough to dredge, you also need a wetsuit.
No, not always.
Well,
in the middle of the summer, you don't.
I'm still cold. I go to the ocean when the water is at least 75. But the middle fork of the San Gabriel River is actually our closest access to river gold. And little by little, they're trying to close that down too. Like, oh, you can't park here. But you can go in the river. But how do I get there if I can't park here? But they're pulling a lot of little tricks. But there are a couple of our club members do go up there and on a regular basis and use this sluice to get gold out.
And we have field trips to do it as well.
Okay, did we run out of time?
There was also an actual town called El Doradoville.
Oh, yeah.
It's a canyon. It goes straight up on both sides for this river. Well, back in the late, I forgot, 18 what, do you know? There was a really big flood, and it wiped out the whole town. I mean, it just, that's how high, that's how high the water got. And it's hard to imagine, because it's so down in the very bottom of the canyon, that it could get that high. And but there's actually mines still left up on the hills. And then, I mean, you know, mine shafts. And then...
the bridge to nowhere?
And then they started to build a bridge and take, you know, the highway across through the mountains there. And they got halfway across building the bridge in 1939, was it? Something
like that, yeah.
And they had another big flood, and it went above their bridge. So they stopped. They just said, well, might as well not build this bridge. And so they call it the bridge to nowhere because it goes just halfway.
On the other side of the bridge, it's a wall of rock. So the south side
of
the
San Gabriel
River. So if you're lucky enough to get to park up there and hike
5 miles exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say 5 miles to where this bridge is. It is a sight. It's not one of the 7 wonders of the world, but you have to go, who's the idiot that put this here? I mean, the first time my friend says, hey, you got to see this bridge that you can't use. And I go, a bridge you can't use? We walked up there and I go, why is this here? And he goes, I think it was also during Roosevelt time when he did all those projects.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't the KKK. That was a different thing. It was this CCC. Just testing. And they were working on that. But I can't figure out why they didn't. I mean, they got that far.
They are using it. Some companies using it now for bungee jumping.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
But there, you know, especially after all this kind of rain, there's plenty of gold people find again there. And they find them as big as the one I showed you walking around, all the way down to what we call fly poop.
That's dust. Old term, gold dust.
Yeah. So, and also I wanted to mention that we just, on Friday, we did a little panning demonstration for the first grade class that came through Vail Ranch here. And I think they really, thought that was pretty interesting. And because, it's really fun when you're panning, and then all of a sudden you see that yellow. And they were all, oh, I see it. And it's always fun to see the kids do that.
Yeah, we put sand in with the gold, and I say to them, okay, first person, let me know when you see gold. And you'd be panning, and all of a sudden these kids would all scream at once, there! Okay, you found it. Okay. And then one kid said, now, I was told, first grader, he said, I was told we get some of the gold. And I said, you do. Come back tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, it's always good to see. Well, this is the first time I did it with first graders.
Yeah, we've always, it's always been like fourth grade when they study local history or California history. I guess it's California history fourth grade, right?
Right, and third is...
And third is local history.
Yeah.
So I think we're having next Friday, the homeschoolers, but it's a much smaller group. We had 60 kids apparently. We had 6 groups of 10 this past Friday. And then we had, the homeschoolers, I think it's only a group of 15, so it might have 2 groups, or all together, it doesn't matter, but we enjoy doing it. And then the week after that, I think it's third graders, again, like a group of 60 that they'll break up into 10. Yeah. So, it's nice to share those kind of things with them and see them get excited about it. I remember when I was just a little girl, first going to Knott's Berry Farm and panning gold, It always stuck with me. And I never thought that I would actually get to do that again in my life. I thought that was all old history or something.
Did anybody go to Knott's Berry's farm and do that? Okay, I have one question. Since I won't go there, you have to pay to get in, right? You do, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, oh, okay. Was that real gold? Because somebody told me that wasn't real gold.
I wasn't old enough to...
No other one? Oh, okay. I'll have to ask an adult that takes the kids.
Somebody that was an adult back then.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I lost that thought. Anyway, yeah, we really enjoyed giving you our presentation, and if you have any questions.
I have one. This was discovered by metal detectorists here on the property. And I'm curious if you guys might know what it is.
Well,
Yep.
there's some black tourmaline to start with.
The black
That's
tourmaline.
Okay.
The reflective material,
Pyrite?
no, mica.
Mica? Okay.
Yeah. They used to, with the Conestoga wagons, when people were coming west, glass was not an option. I mean, I can't even handle glass in my own windows or mirrors. They would bring sheets of mica out and build their sod houses out in the Midwest, and they were big. But this is smaller pieces, and it's flaky.
Can you put it closer?
Oh, sorry. I was wondering what... So it's black tourmaline. The grayish material in here that's all around the tourmaline is quartz, quartz is really nothing but heated sand that melted and solidified. Well, the rest of it, there's white quartz.
There could be iron in there. Whenever you see quartz that has like a reddish color to it, that's the rust from the iron.
The stone, you said this was found on the Vail Ranch property?
Yeah. In about 2012, 13, we had a couple of metal detectoring clubs come and
Should I tell them the
go
truth?
property before
Should I tell them?
it was restored.
Yeah, tell them.
That's one of the items that
Okay, in conjunction with your remark, having lived out here and seeing that they were fencing it off, and the contract builder of the strip mall, the first one, I don't know if you know, there were multiple.
Yeah.
One guy went belly up, the next one got sued, and anyway, they were talking about destructing.
we were probably the ones that sued him anyway.
No, I was there before you did that. And I went with my metal detector, my belts and harness and gloves and everything on, and I'm out there, and headset, and I'm out there, and this, I don't know where he came from. This security guy goes, "What are you doing here?" Now, come on. Shouldn't it be obvious? You know, I just came from Mars and I'm visiting and I'm trying to find out. Anyway, so I said, well, I'm metal detecting the area, and I found, I know most of you probably know it. It was the open barn. That's where they had the carriages go through and the horses were.
The replica of that.
Yeah, and it was on this end where Coles is now. And I went through there and I picked up, I don't know, anybody here know about horses? Okay, I won't get detailed. The thing that goes under the belly, the leather, and it's got buckles on it. I found a bunch of those. I found shoes. I found nails. I found some coins. I went into the where the guy slept,
Bunkhouse.
the bunkhouse. That's the word. And I went all around there and I found some stuff. And then I figured, okay, I'm done. And then I found out, I don't know who invited him. Treasure Seekers.
No. Well, yeah, it could have been, but San Diego Gold Mining Club.
Yeah.
It might have been Treasure Seekers.
Yeah,
in
they
Escondido.
came up and I went past there one day and there's about men and kids, women, they're all, I going, gee, I wonder if I should tell them about all this stuff. Nah, I'll let them find whatever they can. So I don't know how much more they actually found, but it would be unique to see the collection of what was on the grounds. Because that was a large area.
Yeah,
Between the mail delivery, the,
I can show some of the stuff.
yeah.
And yeah, it's in the outside.
But this probably, to answer the last part of your question, there's, iron is the stinker when you're metal detecting. And I'll tell you, there would be an area where something made metal was in the ground and it decayed, it rusted, so you could see maybe a red part of dirt, and you go over that and you think you just hit a bonanza. And then you dig it all up and you go, where did it go? It was just the dirt was so iron filled that it set these metal detectors off, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just go on your merry way. But this probably contains that. Now, I'm from that Vail Ranch location, as the crow flies, I'm about a mile and a half from here on Anza Road. And yeah, everybody knows CRC. DLR was Dolores's before. I find this and the tourmalines this much around, and maybe this long, in rock. And I track to my property and I collect all the, as my wife calls them, the pretty ones, and I stack them up. So I've got quartz, I've got the mica, I've got the tourmaline, and it's all over the property. But I don't know what it's doing there. I think it's just a natural element of this earth that's out here, which a billion years ago we would have been all wet. We wouldn't have been able to stand here. It was ocean. But yeah, this is typically, it's very pretty.
Well, we assumed that it was brought, somebody brought it up to the property.
Could have.
Yeah, there's a lot of black tourmaline that's found going out toward Hemet in some places.
And also going out 79 towards Anza. I've done the Anza Borrego Desert. There's a park out there, and I found it.
Yeah, he found a piece in Kauai.
Yeah, okay, Kauai, 371, right. Yeah. I have a friend. Yes, well, Paula is big time. Have you ever been to the Paula Indian Reservation in school?
Pay a certain amount
where the library is.
Well,
and had a
that's
little
that's when I
store.
found this. When you were still able to dig through the tailing piles there, I knew the first resident there, George Ashley, P.O. Box 1. And because we knew him, we were able to, the Indians would let us go dig through the tailing piles. This is back in the early 80s. And that's how I found this tourmaline. And I found a lot more. And then I learned to facet, and then I set it in my own gold.
They let the publicans out of that, though. They didn't have brochures.
Yeah.
We used to go out there all the time. and dig
Right. There were two. There are two tourmaline mines out there. One you used to pay to go in. Well, okay, you paid to get in the property, but he brought the buckets out, and then you could screen them.
We would go before the bucket.
Well, I'm just saying, there's him. That his name is. I want to say Robert Silver, but I don't think that's correct. And the other was the reservation. But in that store that I went in 30 years ago, they have samples of tourmaline that are literally, there's the most expensive and the most desirable by the Chinese Dowager Empress was watermelon. That's exactly what it looked like, watermelon. Light green to the pink, little black specks, so it looked like a slice of water. They've got in glass cases rocks that are just, you go over there and the guy goes, like that? I go, that tourmaline is worth more per ounce than gold is. That's how rare it is.
And especially if it's terminated still, which is the way that the cleavage, the way the crystal, they're all crystals, grow is how you can tell what it is, like whether it's a beryl, ruby, a emerald. You've seen in the Emerald Towers downtown San Diego how the tops of them are like this. That's how it terminates. Well, the way tourmaline terminates, if there's termination at the end still on it, that makes it even more valuable. Mine were like pieces, or else they were just little, about this big. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at these pieces closely, these small ones, you'll see that they're sided. The ones I have on my property are 8-sided. So it's an octagon tube of this black tourmaline. And somebody said, well, get that out, dig. I go, I don't do that, because the first shot I hit, the thing would probably shatter into, and I'd rather just see it as it is, and I don't care about its value, even if it. Black tourmaline usually has no value. Watermelon, on the other hand, is at the top of the spectrum, and then in between are all these other ones. And I can remember going to the show for the guy that has the other operational facility. He'd go down to San Luis Rey Mission, and they'd have people would sell their wares, and he'd set up, and it was like you needed a security guard to stand by his place, because there were tens of thousands of dollars of all of these, and they were priced high. You know, this is $15,000, this is $12,000. You go, whoa, absolutely gorgeous. But it's not local. It's definitely there, and I'll give you this back, unless you want me to hit it with a hammer, and I could tell you if
I
it's
have a
got.
question on your claim. So you said you have 40-acre claim.
Right.
You get claim jumpers?
Oh yeah. We have to deal with that
Well, there
sometimes.
was one, but I had a very large hole that was like about the size of a VW bug,
You just covered it.
and I don't know. The guy didn't come back anymore. I don't know where he went. Just kidding. But yes, for about 5 years, the same guy would come up, and he would dig. And the thing that annoyed me the most was, if you buggy lug that, a blower, a can of gas, and a hose around your neck, and you're trying to carry it up a mountain that's like this, I decided, I'm going to take my number 2 shovel, and I'm going to make a path that goes up this mountain. And it took me a weekend. Didn't go for the gold, just went for the dig, and I have a hand cart, you know? I strapped everything to the hand cart. Mickey Moused it together, got it, and I hauled it up the mountain, and my prospecting partner took the other equipment, got it up there. This guy dug the path out. And I caught him. And I went, okay, you're toast. Either you join our club or you get out of here. And I can just go down to Big Bear, and you can have them arrested. They can confiscate their vehicle, anything that they found, and have them incarcerated. And it's California, I don't know what year it was, you guys can probably Google it. They stopped hanging people that... And I threatened the guy, I said, up here, nobody's going to know. I can tell you right now. So you have a couple of choices. And then I never saw his white Toyota pickup. I have his photograph of his license plate. I know that he was an electrician in Cherry Valley. And I said, I'm being nice to you. Don't come back. Find another...
We've never had to deal harshly with
No.
anybody.
But that was the only one.
But-
Yeah, the worst is rattlesnakes.
But,
well,
but actually,
they
you
live
know,
there.
we go out to the desert, you know, when the rattlesnakes are all underground hibernating, so you don't come across them usually because we don't want to go out there when it's real hot in the summer. It's too hot. So we just go in the spring and the fall and the summer and winter, if you can, you know, stay warm in the winter because it gets pretty cold at night. But and then we have our more summertime outings and so forth at the river and water and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we do it. I just wanted to mention one more thing, and it's a scripture from the Bible in Job, and it's also a popular saying for gold miners. Gold is where you find it.
Yeah. Did anybody ever read the fables about the golden fleece? Jason and the Argonauts with the golden fleece? A lot of people don't understand that. It's simple. They used to skin sheep and put their coats in the rivers, and the gold would go into it and get trapped. And then they'd take it out of the water, they'd hang it up on a frame in the sunlight, put a cloth down below it, and they'd beat it like a dirty rug till the gold fell out. That's, you know, people would go, oh, that's farcical. I go, it's true.
That was really the first gold prospecting method.
When you really think about it, okay, there
Yeah,
were those
as
that
far
walked
as-
into a
as far
creek and
as,
go,
water.
oh, what's that pretty yellow thing? And they'd pick it up and it would be gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would literally lay this, put a couple of rocks on it to keep it from floating downstream, and it would get trapped in there.
Yeah. Easy to see. Actually, at the bottom of our sluice boxes, we call it carpet. And it's a similar material that catches the gold so it doesn't keep going.
It looks like
The
a
small
flattened Brillo pad.
Yeah.
Not the wire, but the nylon, whatever you call it. That's what really holds it in there. And it's not permanent. It's removable because it starts to deteriorate over time and it breaks up. So you replace them. This screen that's on here is, thinking the word, it's porous enough that you could blow smoke through it because the air has to get up to blow the dirt off. Well, I wore my first one out and I took out that inside container and I said to my wife, do you think you could find this material? And she goes, I don't know. She went to Walmart, she got 1.5 yards of it for 89 cents, brought it back and she goes, here, is this it? I went, yeah. She goes, I go, what's it used for? She goes, well, obviously you're going to use it for that, but I have no idea. It was in Walmart. And I took the old one off, glued the new one in, and now I got another 10 years use out of it.
Also, at the end of the day, when you open this up, or not even at the end of the day, a lot of times throughout the day, a few times, you open this up and you get this out and you carefully put it into a bucket and then you carefully take this carpet and you put it in the bucket without, you try to get it directly in the bucket so nothing falls out. And you wash it out.
Yeah,
Just like
goes
what
back
they
in the
actually
pan.
used to do with these products.
Yeah.
You wash it out in the bucket so you get everything that's small out of it. And then we put them back in And then at the end of the day, what we call in the bucket is concentrates. Concentrates is what we take and can. And then also when we're using these dry washers out in the desert, of course there's all different size rocks. So we have these classifiers, what they're called, and we put them over. They fit perfectly on buckets, and we shovel the dirt through the classifiers, different sizes, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. Usually start with like a 1/2 inch, and everything goes through except what's too big. Then you throw that off, and then you put the next smallest one, 1/4 inch, and you shovel dirt in there, and shake it, and everything goes through except for what's too big, and you throw those off. So there's all these different methods and processes that you get to where you finally get to where you're at your concentrates, and then you pan it. And that's like the last thing you do, and that's where you find your gold.
Now, not to oversimplify, but even though this thing looks complicated, there were people that would own theirs, or this is a clubs we lend out, and I had mine, and I'd set up and work, and other people would come by. It's not that simple to begin with. If you're up in Big Bear Gold Mountain, there's a certain type of dirt. It's got 5 different dirts around the entire mountain. It's got clay, it's got condensed rock, it's got calcite. So people would set this wrong. They would go, the dirt never comes out.
Yeah, it just goes like this,
You
and
said
it takes forever for it to get here. You have to learn to get the right angle.
So, and it's dirt. It's got to do with what you're throwing in it, not the dirt, but you get pine needles and other things. But the thing was, people would do this up there, and they'd walk away. And I'd say to them, hey, before you leave, just do me a favor. Could you show me your tailings, what falls out here and falls out there? Because the rocks fall out the top that don't go through
there's
the half-inch.
There's a grading up here, so all the big stuff just rolls off.
Now, she was saying you throw away the big stuff. Well, I'm really not trusting the bigger rock. One may have a nugget in it, and it got thrown away because it's dirty. Some gold, you don't know it's gold until it gets washed out.
That's true.
The dirt stays with it. So I would go back and I'd go, okay, how many buckets did you do? That's the 5. And they go, oh, about 6. And I go, okay, so I grabbed 6 of my buckets. I'd go over and I'd shovel all of their dirt back in it and run it through mine. Even my partner, he would pan, and he was not really that good at panning. And I have this big cement black tub filled with water, and he goes, well, I'll throw this away now, we're done. I go, yeah, no. I'll clean it out when I get home. Don't worry about it. And then I'd clean it out, and I'd have a little glass vial of the gold that was in the black tub that he threw away when he's panning. So all things are not equal. All things are not simple, even though that's why we like to teach people coming up. How do you do it? Well,
and we show
you got to
them,
show them.
and we instruct them, and we tell them all our little tips and things that we've learned, or that we want them to keep in mind, so that they learn what to look for, what to see, what for instance, there's a way to set this up in a creek or a river so that the water goes through just perfectly and makes like a V at the end. Then that's a perfect amount of water to go through where it won't wash it completely out.
Not too much turbulence.
And it won't just not be enough. So every time we go on an outing and we have new people, we just show them all these things. And like we said, and Bob's the one that has all of our
the club's equipment.
Our club's equipment for people to check out and try these things. And until you decide, oh, I really like it, I'm going to buy my own or something like that. So.
And that's the point of, when I started out, I had no idea what things cost. Okay, $10, $3, they break, you buy a new one. Not a lot of money. You need it though. These, $125. This, with the blower and the hose, now you're up to like $900 to $1,000.
Unless you get a used one.
Yeah, this I bought new from a dealer in Moab, Utah, and it was $700 in 1991. This is now almost $1,000.
Well, I paid a little more for mine because mine has a setting on it where it says it's probably tin. It's probably nickel.
Oh,
Could
the
be
newer ones,
silver.
yeah,
Gold.
yeah. There's some newer ones out now that you could give to your grandkid and just listen if it beeps and see what the symbol is on the little computer screen, and kids will love it because they're games, computer games. They're watching that. I gave that to one of my grandkids, and he goes, "Oh, I don't want to do this, Grandpa." I go, Just try it. And I deliberately loaded the ground. Well, you got to start them somewhere. There's a nickel. If I find a nickel, can I keep it? Yeah, go ahead. All of a sudden now, a nickel, a quarter. So I just put it under the sand a little bit and let them, play with the detector.
Well, we thank you for this time. And I just want to let you know if you want a card or a brochure about us, just come on out and get one. And if you have any other questions, but thank you for having us.
Just stick around a couple minutes. Thank you to Laura and Robert, and I totally neglected to mention that what they were talking about, in case you're not familiar, is we do, the Temecula Valley Historical Society, we bring school children onto the property here to do tours, and they were gracious enough to actually participate for the first time, hopefully the first of many going forward, because it was very much appreciated and a great
Good, and the kids were good.
addition to what we're doing.
Yeah.
So thank you for that very much.
Glad to have done it. And I never worked with first graders except my grandkids. So I was a little dubious about the...
He kept them entertained.
I bet
the attention span is what kills you. Or they stick their finger in it and they try to pick the gold out. Anyway,
run
they were
up,
good.
First thing they want to do is put their hand in the water.
And once again, the first Saturday of every month, 9 a.m. at the Lakeland Village Community Center.
Right.
Yeah.
We have
Correctly?
cards.
Correct?
Yeah, so here's
Yeah,
cards
it's the address and everything's
and
on it.
brochure about us. So make sure
And we
you
have
get
two
one.
websites.
If you would like to know more
One's on
about us.
Facebook and one's in
Yes, and our
Email.
website is here, where you can go on our website. You can also sign up for our newsletter to know what we're doing all the time. And then we're on Facebook.
Excellent. And then a reminder, the first Monday of each month, third Monday, I'm sorry. The fourth Monday? Third. Fourth.
What are we doing?
What are we right now? Okay, whatever this is, every month, this day we do this presentation.
Can you mention your website?
Oh, yeah, it's, let's see,
Can he
Temecula.
photograph that card?
Oh, yeah, here.
Give him the card.
The fourth Monday.
Well, he wanted the website.
And
It's
spaghetti
Temecula
meatballs will be
Valley
served with
Prospectors dot MailChimp sites.com.
Thank you.